Hello and welcome back to another episode of Goji's Thrift Box. What treasure shall we pull out of the box today? And what story will it tell? Let's find out.
Provide him with suitable weapons. Weapons of divine temper. A helmet, a shield, a sword.
Find and fulfill your destiny.
The myth, the magic, the mystery, the majesty.
Destroy Argos!
Let loose the last of the Titans.
Metro Goldwyn Mayer presents Clash of the Titans. The good, the evil, the danger, the daring.
How may a mortal man face and defeat the Kraken?
Clash of the Titans. The combat, the courage, the splendor, the spectacle. Clash of the Titans. Starring Harry Hamlin as Perseus, Judy Bowker as Andromeda, Burgess Meredith, Maggie Smith, Ursula Andress, Claire Bloom, Sean Phillips, Flora Robeson, and Laurence Olivier as Zeus. Before history, beyond imagination. Clash of the Titans.
Well, it looks like today we're going to talk about one of the architects of my imagination, the great Ray Harryhausen. Raymond Frederick Harryhausen was born on June 29, 1920 in Los Angeles, California. After watching the original 1933 version of King Kong, Harryhausen became enamored with the stop-motion special effects, which in that film were created by Willis O'Brien. Harryhausen spent his youth experimenting in the production of animated shorts, using stop-motion animation with puppets of his own creation. He was inspired by a literary genre that was growing in popularity at that time, science fiction. Harryhausen got the chance to meet Willis O'Brien and showed him some of the work he had done. O'Brien critiqued the young Harryhausen's work and advised him to take classes in graphic arts and sculpture to further develop his skills. During his youth, Harryhausen became friends with an aspiring writer named Ray Bradbury, the two sharing similar interests. They both joined a Los Angeles organization called the Science Fiction League, where they met the future publisher of the magazine Famous Monsters of Filmland, Forrest J. Ackerman. The three men became lifelong friends. In 1947, Harryhausen was hired as an assistant animator on the film Mighty Joe Young, which became his first major work in Hollywood. He worked on the film alongside his mentor, Willis O'Brien. The first film with Ray Harryhausen, in full charge of the effects, was 1953's The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, the film that kicked off the atomic monster film genre of the 1950s, and was one of the inspirations for the filmmakers at Japan's Toho Studios when they were creating the first Godzilla film. Throughout the 1950s, 60s, and into the 70s, Harryhausen created visual effects for a string of memorable films in both the science fiction and fantasy genres. These included the Creature on the Loose films, It Came from Beneath the Sea, and 20 Million Miles to Earth, the alien invasion film Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, the Cowboys vs. Dinosaur film The Valley of Gwangi, 3 films featuring the adventures of Sinbad, and what many fans consider to be his greatest work, Jason and the Argonauts. Many of these films were produced by Harryhausen's longtime producing partner, Charles H. Schneer. Harryhausen made it a point to never refer to his creations as monsters, as he preferred to call them creatures, and he brought these creatures to life via a process called dynamation. Exactly what is dynamation? Let's let the man himself explain it in his own words.
I know when I go to these various conventions over the years, the first question I usually get asked is, what is dynamation? And to put it simply, the dynamation is the combination with an animated figure with live action photography, so it looks like it's all one type of production.
1981 saw the release of what would become Harryhausen's final film, Clash of the Titans, an epic fantasy adventure film directed by Desmond Davis. Primarily based on the Greek myth of Perseus and the Gorgon, the film drew elements from other sources as well, such as the winged horse Pegasus from the myth of Bellerophon and the Chimera, and naming their sea monster the Kraken, a name from Scandinavian myth. Clash of the Titans starred Harry Hamlin as Perseus, and the legendary Laurence Olivier as his father, Zeus, king of the gods. Burgess Meredith played the poet Ammon, Maggie Smith played the vengeful goddess Thetis, and Ursula Andress as Aphrodite, goddess of love. Besides the aforementioned Pegasus and the Kraken, Clash of the Titans features several memorable creatures, including the villainous Calibus, his giant vulture servant, the two-headed dog Diosculus, giant scorpions, the humorous Bubo the mechanical owl, and one of the most fearsome of Harryhausen's creations, the Gorgon Medusa. Clash of the Titans premiered on U.S. theater screens on June 12, 1981. On its opening weekend, it finished second behind Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not bad. It went on to gross $70 million and was one of the top grossing films of that year. Harryhausen, along with producer Charles H. Schneer, attempted to get a sequel to Clash of the Titans called Force of the Trojans off the ground, but that never happened due to lack of studio interest. Shortly after, both men announced their retirement from filmmaking. As Clash of the Titans was released in a post-Star Wars merchandising landscape, there were several tie-ins for the movie, which included things like a lunchbox and coloring books. But the biggest tie-in was the toy line from Mattel. Mattel released a small but memorable toy line for the film, which included 4 action figures: the hero Perseus, villainous Calibus, Thallo, captain of the guard, and Charon, the ferryman of the River Styx. These figures were designed very similar to Kenner's Star Wars figures, with 5 POA. In addition, there was the horse Pegasus, a solid plastic horse with attached rubber wings that was molded in a galloping pose. And to cap off the line, one of the biggest and most memorable monster toys ever made, the Kraken. Standing at about 15 inches tall, the Kraken was a hard plastic figure that featured 4 movable arms and a turning waist. The tail and the fins had to be assembled out of the box. As the plastic on the Kraken is easily breakable, it is sometimes difficult to find one in good unbroken condition. And when one does sell on the secondary market, it could sell for upwards of $1,000. Additional Clash of the Titans toys were planned by Mattel. These included role-play toys, a large version of Bubo the Owl, and a cardboard playset of Calibos' lair, which looked very similar to the cardboard playsets that Palitoy released in the UK for their Star Wars range. Unfortunately, Mattel did not see any interest in releasing these after the movie had left theaters, and despite showing up in a catalog, these toys were cancelled. Out of the Thrift Box today, we have this original Mattel Perseus figure from 1981. Not much to say about the figure itself. It is 5 POA, arms, legs, and head, just like Kenner Star Wars figures. He is missing his original accessories, which were a sword and shield, and his paint is a little worse for wear. There's some worn spots on his hair and around his shoulder strap. I did find this in a bag at a thrift store of miscellaneous action figures. It only cost me a couple of bucks. So what I'm going to do is try to restore this figure as much as I can. I've got my trusty paint markers here in brown. I'm going to see if I can touch up his hair and his shoulder strap. And I've acquired a couple of repro accessories for him as well. So let's get him touched up. Alright, I have touched up Perseus a little bit. He looks better. The brown on the hair wasn't an exact match, but I mixed a couple of different colors together, and I got it looking pretty good. So now, for his accessories. There is an account I follow on Instagram called Tiny Plastic Men, who makes a variety of really nice customs, including Mego-style figures and Mark-style plastic playsets. But they also make repro accessories for vintage action figures. So from Tiny Plastics Men eBay store, I grabbed a repro sword and shield for Perseus, as well as an accessory that never made it into the original Mattel line, and that's the Helmet of Invisibility. I don't think the weapons are the same color as the Mattel originals, which is fine. That way you can spot that they're repros. And the helmet's a bit of a tight fit, but I was able to get it on him, and it looks pretty good. Besides the helmet, Tiny Plastic Men also makes a whole range of accessories that were never made for the original Mattel line, such as a claw hand and a throne for Calibos, a boat for Charon, and a couple of different versions of Bubo the Owl. These accessories are made in small batches that go out of stock quickly, but they usually get restocked every once in a while. So I will link to Tiny Plastic Men's Instagram page in the description of this video if you want to follow them there. And then you can find out when a new batch of accessories drops in the eBay store. Despite not having a sequel, Clash of the Titans is a well-remembered fantasy film. The rights to the film are currently held by Warner Brothers, who released a remake film in 2010 and a sequel to that film, Wrath of the Titans, in 2012. I watched both of those films, and honestly, I did not care for them. Despite being filled to the brim with modern CGI effects, they just didn't have the heart of the Harryhausen original. In 2007, comic book publisher Blue Water Productions, who have since changed their name to Tidal Wave Productions, began producing the Ray Harryhausen Signature Series, a series of comic books that acted as sequels to some of Harryhausen's most famous films, including 20 Million Miles to Earth, Earth vs. the Flying Saucers, Mysterious Island, and Jason and the Argonauts. They produced two comic book sequels to Clash of the Titans, Wrath of the Titans and Wrath of the Titans, Revenge of Medusa. Blue Water received permission from Warner Brothers to use the title Wrath of the Titans, but these books have no relation to the 2012 film. These stories follow the adventures of Perseus 5 years after the original film. Perseus, his wife Andromeda, Pegasus, and Bubo encounter threats both new and old. And in true comic book fashion, characters that died in the original movie don't stay dead for long. Although Ray Harryhausen never won an Oscar for his work during his career, in 1992 the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences awarded him the Gordon E. Sawyer Award for technological contributions that have brought credit to the industry. This award was presented to him by Tom Hanks and his lifelong friend Ray Bradbury. Ray Harryhausen passed away on May 7, 2013, at the age of 92. But he left behind an incredible legacy in film. Filmmakers that have cited Harryhausen as a direct influence include Steven Spielberg, Tim Burton, Peter Jackson, Guillermo del Toro, and John Landis. After Harryhausen's passing, George Lucas released a statement that read in part, "Without Ray Harryhausen, there would likely have been no Star Wars." The stop-motion effects of Ray Harryhausen may look dated compared with today's computer-generated animation and graphic effects. But what they had that a lot of modern effects lack is personality. Although there are some CGI-created characters that have depth to them, thanks to motion capture performances, like Josh Brolin's Thanos, and the many roles of Andy Serkis, most CGI creatures are pretty lifeless. That was not the case with the stop-motion puppets created by Ray Harryhausen. Harryhausen's creatures could emote. You could feel their pain and their fear, even though you knew they were make-believe. If you've never seen any of Ray Harryhausen's films, I encourage you to check them out. Both Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans are great fantasy films, and The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms kicked off an entire genre that endures to this day. For decades, dinosaur lovers have enjoyed 1 million years BC, as well as the quirky Cowboys vs. Dinosaur film The Valley of Goji. And you can't go wrong with the amazing Sinbad film series. That's it for this video, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.